best thing next that we can offer to you. So I think this is how Gen AI and bots can help you on the customer experience.
Thank you. Thank you. Anish, you were talking about how AI can help underwriters, right, improve efficiency. What's your take on Metaverse? And maybe if you could explain what Metaverse means to you. And do you see a role where you can use virtual environments primarily to help train underwriters to get more efficient, and or the relationship managers, etc. Right?
So, I think there's always a difference between can and what may happen. Let me split that into two. Yes, technology offers you a lot of opportunities, and a metaverse is something that, everybody is quite gung-ho in Silicon Valley. And a lot of banks have been pitched these solutions as well. But my view is two cents. I think if you look at where our economy stands today, and you have to see that in the last 10 years, we have done an exemplary job of Jan Dhan accounts being opened and a lot of banking inclusion happening in the country. But if you look from a credit inclusion perspective, we still have only 44 crore credit footprints and live trade lines around 25 crores. So a large part of the population is today still outside the formal credit network. Similarly, when you look at SMEs, if you look at agri, they are quite bereft of formal credit. If you go on the investment and wealth management side, today there's a huge gap in terms of penetration of investments. Yes, mutual fund AUMs are now at 50 lakh crore with almost a 3 lakh crore SIP book, but that is still a small fraction of what the population is. And similarly for insurance. So the way I see the landscape in India is that banks have started casting a wider net. The economy is structurally changing. And therefore, what does the economy need today? Now, the next requirement in an evolution is how do you expand that net bigger? How do you bring in better efficiencies in your existing processes? So if you have your existing services, if you have existing branches, how can you make them more efficient, both from a profitability angle and more so from a customer experience and accessibility angle? I don't see Metaverse playing a role there. So I'll play a contra role here and I'll say it's fancy banking. What India needs today is real banking, which can actually add value to the GDP, which can add value to the lives of people. We still have a long way to go. We have interesting India stacks coming in through ONDC and OCAN, and there's a lot to be done. Even account aggregator penetration is very, very low today, and that entire unit economics, etc., has to be figured out to make that much more scalable. So I think Metaverse, yes, there are some POCs which will go on. One should keep on experimenting. But A, the costs are very prohibitive today. And second, Indians would prefer banks to be available to them and accessible to them first and keep their money safe and secure rather than getting into fanciness of my digital avatar going into a virtual branch and doing some transactions. I think we're still some time away from that.
Thanks, Anish. So Shivani, the next question is for you. On safe AI, Europe recently had passed a regulation and policies, right? What's your view, maybe if you can give a global view? How do you see safe AI and policies from a global perspective, and then if you can give a view from an India point of view?
Look, I think safe AI, I'll largely talk about 2-3 aspects. One is basically there's already been a lot of awareness especially in North America, Europe region around model bias and kind of basically being very aware of retraining models and the efficiency of models, explainability and all of that. So I think one thing is that I see slowly coming up in India as well, right? As we start looking into our models and looking into what's really working, what's happening within those models. That's one aspect of it. I think in India we are still in early stages, in many places in setting up the whole ML ops ecosystem, because for us to be able to address some of these things at scale, right? That's very, very critical. And then, when it comes to safe AI, there is the whole element of data security as well, right? And Anuradha touched upon it a little bit when she talked about the Gen AI APIs and, where, is it an in-memory processing? Is data getting stored elsewhere? How are you really kind of handling your data? So I think that also needs to be looked at very critically. And I think one important thing that I really look at every time is that what is the incremental value add that you really get by doing something, right? What is the incremental value add in terms of the dollar value by doing, particular, sort of innovation or a particular, external API call, enrichment, or, particular AI adoption and so on. And, some of the use cases do fail this test, right? You're not really sure whether, setting up that entire pipeline and putting in all those overheads of safety, security, actually, justify what the outcomes could possibly be. So I think that's a trade-off that we'll have to keep looking at as well as we move along in this space. But yes, I think we have to be completely prepared for, being able to justify how our models are working, be completely aware of, the data drifts, the concept drifts that could be happening, and, be able to, explain the outcomes very, very clearly. So I think that's very near in the future now.
You've made a great point. I think outcome and the ROI are two important aspects. So if you look at advanced AI, right, I think what's very important is you use it for the right purpose, right? And at most of the institutions, we are still in a POC phase, right? We were trying to see, will it really help the business or not? So Anuradha, this question is for you. What will be your advice to run these POCs and outcomes tests in a frugal way, right? To ensure that you're able to A, drive the ROI and also, justify the outcomes which will eventually help business.
So if we see in a lot of, it's just my personal view that when we talk about AI, nowadays we want everything to be solved by Gen AI. We don't look at whether this is an actual problem which can be simply solved by a simple machine learning solution, but we want everything because Gen AI is in hype or what we call the latest trend. We want everything to be solved. And interesting conversations that I've heard is people telling that, okay, minutes of meeting, people don't have time to read. Can we have a Gen AI to speak it out for you? Now, the thing is, if the person doesn't have time to read, will he have the time to listen? And how will we have the capture of those meetings? It's just a general viewpoint, right? So because we are so busy in multitasking a lot of things, right? We don't focus on one thing. But yes, everything should not be solved with Gen AI. And it comes with a lot of value adds which needs to be taken care of. If I can simply solve, let's say I'm talking about sentiment analysis. Do I need a generative AI there? No, I can simply solve it with an NLP problem. Yes, if I want to give a suggestions on top of it, or maybe we want to have more progressive digital footprint, maybe we can take it later. POCs have to be literally taken care of how much we can solve and what is actually needed to be solved. Not every POC needs to be using a Gen AI. So that's my thought process, that we need to look at every use case and categorize them and how they can be solved. Maybe simple use cases can be solved with simple machine learning problems. We don't need generative AIs or GPUs to be pushed in there. So it is important to do POCs, as you mentioned, that we have to keep doing the test. It's not that we should stop it, but look at the use cases. What is the ROI value that we are getting in return? I think that is more important for us to think about it.
Thank you. So on the same point, Anish, what are the top three business problems that you would, from a retail banking perspective, right, that where you think if we apply AI, right, it will help you drive a better sales efficiency or help improve your customer engagement?
Look, first of all, I don't think there's a one panacea to everything. It's always a combination of things. So whatever I'm saying is in a context of what I feel are the 2-3 major needs of the market, and I see a lot of financial institutions working towards that in the next 2 to 5 years time frame. I think the first need from an experience angle is, I would say, how do you make it very personalized? And therefore, how do you use my data effectively? And I would simply, on a lighter note, I've coined a framework called the Betal framework. Because you have enough data inside the organization and outside. Just like a Betal, it's difficult to catch hold of, because you have systems and everything lying, in different places, and there are a lot of silos. So B is for behavioral data, right? E is for event-based data, and T is for transaction data. So behavior is how is my customer behaving on different platforms and touch points. Event is any life event or any important episodes in the journey of the customer. Transactions we all understand. And then you have the asset liability data, which comes from the account aggregator framework. Now, both inside the bank and outside, how do you make use of that and therefore deliver an n equal to 1 experience or close to that? It's still a utopian dream because, as I mentioned, the data is lying in different places, systems are lying in different places. How do you take a 360-degree view of the customer at one place is a challenge. An extension of that is providing a seamless experience from offline to online and from online to phygital to a customer. So how do you create a unique omni-channel experience? So that's one degree of personalization I speak about, and AI definitely, with all its facets, from machine learning to deep learning, etc., can play a role there. The second element that's emerging in a big manner, which I would say is futuristic, is how do you create personalized products? So why do you have to think loans as home loans, auto loans, and car loans, etc., differently? Why can't I give you a single credit line? Or I can underwrite you for a product and say, you know what, you build your own credit card. I don't need to, give you different packages. You decide as per your usage and, customize, because I know you well enough. So that level of solutioning and customization is something that is futuristic, but that's definitely the need of the hour. And the third element I would say is, how do you reach out to me? I think that's where the trust angle comes in when we talk about AI. And there have been a lot of surveys, including PwC global surveys that I've come across, and I've seen that people are wary. In fact, in the last 2 years, the sentiments about trust about my data has gone down from almost 50% to now it's around 30%. And now when we talk about trust, in very simple terms, if you look at the behavioral science models, trust has two elements, competence and benevolence, which in very simple terms means if I'm sharing my data with a bank or a financial institution, I know that they know how to handle my data, and I know that they have my best interests in mind when they are handling my data. Now that is a big element which is yet to be, kind of nurtured. And therefore, when I talk about experiences and the use of AI, on one hand, it brings with itself a lot of opportunities, but on the other hand, the trust aspect, is something that needs to go along with it.
Thank you. We are on time. Thanks, Anish. Thanks, Shivani. Thanks, Anuradha. Thanks to the audience for your patience listening. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very, very much, panel, for adding into this reservoir of knowledge sharing, as we say, at the 4th edition of ET Now Digital Banking Summit 2024. Thank you very much. Yes, we did.